Okay, what if I told you that you could literally add 10 healthy years to your life? And no, I'm not talking about extreme, miserable diets or, forcing yourself into a 4 a.m. ice bath. I mean simple, science-backed changes to your daily routine that completely transform how your body actually feels and functions. So let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the science of living longer through 5 everyday habits. We're going to walk chronologically through a typical day, looking at the exact accessible routines that optimize your brain, your heart, and your overall longevity. Here's our roadmap for the day. We'll optimize everything from waking up to going to sleep. We're looking at morning light, moving every 60 minutes, eating 30 plants, connecting to lower stress, and finally, how sleep clears brain waste. All right, let's kick off the day with habit number 1, morning light anchors energy. The very first thing your body actually craves in the morning isn't coffee, it's light. When you step outside and get just 5 to 10 minutes of bright light in your eyes within the first hour of waking up, special cells in your retina pick up on that brightness. This totally sharpens your morning cortisol peak, giving you that natural drive and alertness. But here's the really cool part. It crucially sets a 14 to 16-hour biological timer for your evening melatonin production. So, what's the big takeaway here? Light is absolutely the single most reliable signal for your internal clock. It's not just about waking you up in the moment. It's a fundamental biological anchor. Getting that early light completely aligns your circadian rhythm, literally prepping your body for restorative sleep that night. Basically, if you get the morning right, the night kind of takes care of itself. Moving right into the workday, let's hit habit number 2, move every 60 minutes. To really grasp why we have to actively fight metabolic aging, let's compare a sedentary workday with an active one. Sitting for hours on end literally slows down your metabolism, weakens your muscles, and wrecks your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. It's like putting your body on pause. But then, look at the power of intermittent movement. Just getting up for a brief walk or a quick stretch every single hour triggers your muscles to soak up glucose right out of your bloodstream. It slashes those insulin spikes, lowers cardiovascular risk, and keeps your energy rock steady all afternoon long. Now, while moving around during the day is super important, it pairs flawlessly with this concept, Zone 2 cardio. The science shows that combining that daily intermittent movement with a dedicated weekly aerobic workout, where you're at about 60 to 70% of your max heart rate, directly targets your mitochondria. And those are the little energy-producing powerhouses inside your cells. By increasing your mitochondrial density, you can literally reverse the energy decline and fatigue that come with biological aging. How amazing is that? Okay, let's move on to mealtime. Habit number 3, eat 30 plants weekly. Just look at this gorgeous, vibrant spread of food. So the American Gut Project, which happens to be the largest published study ever on the human microbiome, discovered something absolutely incredible. They found that people who eat 30 or more different plant foods every single week create a vastly more diverse, resilient gut microbiome. And since nearly 70% of your entire immune system lives right there in your gut, feeding it a huge variety of fiber fuels all that good bacteria, which in turn radically reduces systemic inflammation. Now, I know what you're thinking. 30 plants? That sounds like a ton. But when you break it down, it's actually surprisingly easy to pull off, because every single type of plant counts once per week. We're talking pulses like lentils and chickpeas, nuts like walnuts and almonds, and even those tiny little garnishes and herbs like rosemary and thyme. They all count toward that magic number 30. Literally, just sprinkling some walnuts on your morning oatmeal, boom, that's 2 plants right there. You're practically a botanist already. The biological benefits we get from this variety are just massive. Eating these plants, especially things like pulses and mixed nuts, actively crushes chronic inflammation. It also prevents you from over-triggering something called mTOR. Now, mTOR is a nutrient-sensing cellular pathway that actually accelerates aging when it's chronically stimulated, so we want to keep that in check. Plus, massive studies, like the Loma Linda Adventist Health Study, proved that just eating a handful of mixed nuts every day is linked to preserving telomere length and, get this, a 28% reduction in all-cause mortality. Absolutely a game changer. All right, shifting gears to the late afternoon and evening, let's talk about a totally overlooked biological driver of longevity. Habit number 4, connect to lower stress. I really want to let this shocking statistic sink in for a second. 32%. A massive landmark meta-analysis found that social isolation increases your risk of all-cause mortality by approximately 32%. When you're isolated, your body basically gets stuck in a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. To put that into a perspective you can really picture, researchers found that social isolation carries a health risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. 15! And it actually exceeds the health risks associated with obesity. Loneliness isn't just a sad feeling, guys. It's a literal physical threat to your long-term health. But here is the incredibly good news. Meaningful, daily social interactions, and I mean even just a quick 5-minute phone call to a loved one or sharing a good laugh with a friend, trigger the release of oxytocin. This hormone acts as a powerful buffer for your HPA axis, which is your body's central stress response system. Human studies actually show that oxytocin can lower your peak cortisol responses to acute stress by 10 to 30%. It rapidly shifts your whole body out of that chronic fight-or-flight mode and right back into a state of parasympathetic recovery. And that brings us to the end of the day, to the foundational habit that locks all of this progress in. Habit number 5, sleep clears brain waste. If we tie all of today's habits together, you'll see a clear pattern. If you anchored your rhythm with that bright morning light and you managed your daily stress by buffering your HPA axis with a bit of social connection, you've just created the absolute perfect biological setup for step 3, achieving 7 to 9 hours of deep, uninterrupted, restorative sleep. But why exactly is deep sleep so critical for longevity? Well, while you're in deep sleep, your brain fires up something called the glymphatic system. You can think of it as your brain's nightly waste clearance mechanism. It's essentially taking out the trash. It actively flushes out metabolic waste, including a neurotoxin known as amyloid beta. Adults who consistently hit that 7 to 9 hours of sleep effectively slash their chronic disease risk by 20% and measurably slow down their epigenetic aging. No way around it. Sleep is your superpower. So what's the big takeaway from today's explainer? It's that small, daily choices really do compound into massive health returns and a lower biological age over time. It is definitely not about being perfect. It is entirely about being consistent. Which of these 5 habits are you going to start tomorrow? Is it the early morning sunlight, hitting those 30 plants, moving every hour? I really want to know, so let me know down in the comments below. And hey, do yourself a favor and share this explainer with a loved one right now. It's honestly a perfect, super easy way to start building that essential social connection today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and here's to adding 10 healthy years to your life.